everyone, welcome back to C1 Novel and Vocab Week 7, and this video is for our novel. Today we'll be starting a new novel entitled Clementine. Okay, so we're finished with the other book and now we're on to book number 2 for semester 1. So, what will we be doing in this video? We'll be going over some difficult phrases from our novel, Clementine. And this is for cultural fluency. By becoming familiarized with different slang and colloquialisms, which means sayings and phrases, students will be able to relate to the novel and incorporate, which means to use, these phrases to convey and show their ideas more precisely. So not only are we just reading a book and we're, solving the questions for our homework, but I want us to read our book carefully so that we can maybe take some of these phrases, put it in our brain, and then use it later with our mouths. Okay? Today we'll be going over Clementine chapters 1 and 2. It's very, very short compared to our previous book. It was only 27 pages and the font is quite big and there are many pictures here. So there weren't many phrases to choose from here. So today I'll be going over 3 different phrases, but if you read chapters 1 and 2 and you didn't know something and you want clarification, why don't you write it down and then you can give it to the front desk and say this is for Miss Kimberly for the YouTube video, and then I can try to explain it in the next video. Okay? Great, so let's get started. Everyone, please take out your Clementine book. If you don't have it yet, please press pause and then go get it and come back. But if you have it already, please turn with me to page 4. And I'll read from the very top of page 4 to make it easy for everyone. Is everybody ready? While Margaret was looking out the window, I accidentally touched her mask. Twice. Okay, fine. Then I got busy working on my project so I wouldn't have to hear any "Clementine, pay attention." Except I did anyway. Which was unfair because each time I was the only person in the whole art room who was paying attention. Which is why I could tell everyone right in the middle of the Pledge of Allegiance that the lunchroom lady was sitting in the janitor's car and they were kissing. Again. Here, the Pledge of Allegiance. And I would also like to talk about her and the teacher always saying pay attention. Here, Clementine is always paying attention to things that are happening, not something that she should be focusing on at the moment. First, let me explain what the Pledge of Allegiance is. The Pledge of Allegiance is something that students say in America at the beginning of school. And this is a way to show loyalty and love for their country. It's a tradition in many schools in the United States. The pledge is meant to remind everyone the values of the country, like freedom and unity. As for whether they still do it now, I'm not quite sure since I live in Korea, but the practice of saying the Pledge of Allegiance at the beginning of school varies from school to school, and sometimes even from state to state. Some schools still do it every day, while others might do it once a week or not at all. It depends on the school's policies and the community preferences. So here in this picture, I have the Pledge of Allegiance in the back. And here are students, what they do in the morning, we have to stand up and put our hand over our hearts. And we have to recite this. And we say, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Whoa, I remembered it from elementary school. But yes, this is what we would say. The tradition of saying the Pledge of Allegiance in schools began in the 19th century. It was written in 1892 by Francis Bellamy, of American Socialists, as part of a campaign to promote patriotism and national unity. As you can see here, again, students saying the Pledge of Allegiance. The practice of saying the pledge in schools became more widespread during the early to mid 20th century, particularly during times of national crisis or conflict. So, Do you have something similar at your school in Korea? From what I've researched, South Korea also has a similar practice of reciting a pledge in schools called the 국가애로, which translates to the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag in English. The pledge is recited by students at the beginning of each school day along with singing the national anthem called the 애국가. So I wasn't quite sure if this actually happened, so I had to ask one of my other students, and I said, hey, do you guys still say this pledge at school? And she said, they do it maybe at her school. They do it once a week, and it's not something that you stand and say, but they put it on the system so that you can hear it, and then that's what they do. And then you sing the 애국가, which is the national anthem of Korea. So this is similar to that, but we call it the Pledge of Allegiance. So back to this quote. Here, Clementine is supposed to be focusing on doing the Pledge of Allegiance at school. However, she was paying attention to something else outside the window. So now that you know what this means, let's go up to the very next page. Excuse me. Page 5. And I'll read from the first indent at the top where it says Clementine. Clementine, you need to pay attention, the art teacher said one more time. And just like the other times, I was paying attention. I was paying attention to Margaret's empty seat. Margaret had been excused to go to the girls' room, and when she left, she had scrunched up, don't cry eyes and a pressed down, don't cry mouth. And she had been gone a really long time, even for Margaret, who washes her hands one finger at a time. First, what is the girls' room? I think from the context of this, I'm sure you were able to understand the girls' room means girls' bathroom. And here, this isn't a cultural fluency type of quote, but I like the imagery of what it brings up in our heads. So you see in this highlighted, scrunched up, don't cry eyes, meaning everyone show me your scrunched up, don't cry eyes. And pressed down, don't cry mouth. So put it all together. It's not a very pretty face, but here, without me, because I'm such a small little picture here, let's have scrunched up, don't cry eyes, the eyes of this baby, scrunched up, and a pressed down, don't cry mouth, his mouth here. So imagine these eyes and this mouth put together, and that is what her face would have looked like, for Margaret at least. So it's just a vivid imagery that I would like to show you. And then let's go to page 21. All the way to page 21. And I will start in the middle where it says, I like her anyway. It's an indent. It says, I like her anyway, but it's not always easy. Remember the rules, Margaret said at her bedroom door. While Margaret was looking under the bed for mascara, I accidentally touched her lamp, which is a china poodle with an umbrella that Margaret calls a parasol, because she is a show-off. Margaret turned around fast, but my hands jumped to my pockets even faster. All right, I said, let's get going with the coloring. This is called changing the subject. So here, in the next page, on page 23, we see the picture of this china poodle with a parasol. Okay, I didn't add the picture here, but as you can see here at the bottom. Okay, so she's like, don't touch, but she was touching it. But she calls it a parasol, which is what it is, but in Clementine's eyes, she just thinks it's an umbrella. So she thinks that Margaret's using a fancy word like a parasol to be a show off. Have you heard of the word show off before? A show-off is someone who tries to impress others by displaying their abilities or possessions like what they have or achievements, often in a boastful or flashy manner. They may seek attention or admiration by intentionally drawing focus to themselves on their accomplishments. Show off is actually a phrasal verb, meaning to show off something, but here we can also use it as a noun, someone who is a show off, who does the showing off. So here, the idiom show off likely comes from the idea of someone showing off their skills or talents to gain recognition or admiration from others. The term show off can also be used as a noun to describe a person who is displaying this behavior, like I just said. For example, if someone constantly talks about their expensive possessions, something that they bought that was worth a lot of money, or someone who brags about their achievements like getting a really good grade on a test, you might call them a show off. This term is often used in somewhat a negative and a disapproving context, as it implies that the person's behavior is a bit too much, excessive, and a bit self-centered. So here, this person can be a show-off because they're like, ha, I just bought a new fancy car. And he's being a show-off. Or this girl over here is being a show-off because she's like, ha, I got a 100% on my test. Show-off. Hopefully, you guys are not show-offs and you're more humble about your achievements. Okay? We're already done. Those are the only ones that I could really find in our book. Again, if you have more that you want to have me maybe explain further in the next video, I am more than willing to do that. Again, so please make sure that you write it and give it to the front desk teachers, and then they will give it to me. And yeah, I wanted to talk about bangs and aspirin, but those words were also in our vocabulary workbook, which was already discussed in our vocabulary video. So make sure that you not just watch this, but you also watch the vocabulary. Okay? So now, what is it time for you to do? It's time for you to review and self-study. This is for contextual mastery. So review the phrases again from our video and from the book. Read it out loud and reread the novel where these phrases came from. But instead of that, I'm going to challenge you a bit further. Since it's only just 2 chapters, I would like you to try to reread these 2 chapters out loud so that it helps you with your comprehension. And make sure finally to do your novel homework. I think this was the shortest video yet. Don't worry, I'll make the next videos longer for us to have more fun together. But thank you again for joining me, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye!